Water rates in Baltimore City have risen exponentially.
Water rates have been skyrocketing in Baltimore since 2000. They've actually more than tripled.
But advocates say programs to help people keep up with the rising costs are inadequate. In fact, in Baltimore, unlike other cities, you can still lose your home over a $500 unpaid water bill. Which is why people gathered at Red Emma's for a panel to discuss ways to make water more affordable.
Philadelphia, a very similar city in terms of the methods that they used in the past to collect water bills and the programs that they offered, poverty data, they actually implemented the nation's first income-based water billing program. And we should do that here in Baltimore.
Among the panel members was Real News producer Eddie Conaway, who spoke at length about how Wall Street greed has cost city water customers millions of dollars. Also on hand was State Delegate Mary Washington, who talked about her efforts to get a law passed which would impose a one-year moratorium on water bill liens.
With this coalition, we put in 3 pieces of legislation. One was to ban shutoffs for seniors and people on low income. 2, it was to ban a moratorium on tax sale foreclosures, which, by the way, that bill passed the House, saying that there'd be a statewide 1-year moratorium on the sale of anybody's home for an unpaid water bill. It did not get through. Yeah, that's a good thing. That was progress. However, the Maryland Senate did not move that bill out. It came out of the House, but the Maryland Senate kept it in a drawer. So, and then we also established and created the Water Affordability Program, which you're actually going to hear about more. But those 3 pieces of legislation were directly designed to mitigate the negative impact of what unpaid water bills, high unpaid water bills have in our city.
Thank you.
The problem is the city invested in junk bonds before 2008, and they invested water money in that, and they invested for the reason of doing infrastructure repairs, and now the bill has come due, and just recently the city had to pay $50 million in interest to Wall Street. They also had to pay over $40-some million in penalties to Wall Street. So a lot of the money that's being put on the backs of homeowners, low-income families, and renters is actually going to the banks up at Wall Street right now. That's the kind of deals this city had made. And some doctor said, well, we have to do this because the city owes $40 million and people aren't paying their water bills. And research shows that $15 million are actually money owed from the residents. Another $15 million are owned by corporations and businesses here in the city that's not paying their water bills, not being threatened, not having their businesses or properties sold, and another 10 million of that 40 million actually belongs to the city and nonprofits here in this city that's also not paying their water bill. So out of that $40 million that they're putting on the backs of the citizens, only 15 million is citizens' debts, and the other 25 million is the city and city corporate partners and buddies, So it's a disproportionate penalty on poor people and people in the Black community in particular. So yes, it's structural racism, and it has always operated like that. It continues to operate like that. But when you chase the money, it chased Manhattan and ends up in New York, and it ends up in the stock market. So that itself is modern day slavery.
So I wonder if the problem might really be the city's structural tendency to get everything from real estate, which of course then creates problems where you're going to have abandoned buildings because nobody really wants to deal with pay for this, pay for this, pay for this, and it's just like never ending. And it's like, what do they stay up at night trying to figure out the next way they can bill you?
And I'm wondering about, in addition to the inside strategies, because I'm, for one, not trustful of the city council or the mayor's office to really create wholehearted, full solutions, transformative solutions to these types of problems. What are folks thinking about outside strategies? Are people in this organization or these organizations considering crowdfunding to prevent these things from happening now? We know the cost of an eviction, the cost of homelessness far exceeds the average bill of $500 to $600, right? And so we could be crowdfunding within our community, like folks in Detroit have done, to help solve these things right now. The other thing is about people putting their bodies on the line to help stop these shutoffs. People who are not as vulnerable to lockups and to arrests. Some of you all who are here today, putting your bodies on the line to stand up and say, bring media attention to the reality that this is an injustice and it's against our human rights. So the question is about outside strategies. I'm just distrustful of the state and the city to actually solve these types of longstanding issues.
You know, one of the things that I seen that Occupy Wall Street did was that after it got pushed out of the places it occupied, it went on to help deal with debts, medical debts, housing debts, foreclosure. In some cases, they surrounded the properties. In other cases, they raised money. They found innovative ways to do it. We could do that here in the city. And I always say, if you have resources, if you have skill sets, if you have good, clean records, then get in there and help people that don't have those things.
This is Taya Graham reporting for The Real News in Baltimore City, Maryland.